Hey everybody, this is Steve with a Father's Devotions, and I'm doing this for my daughters as well. But if there's anybody else out there who listens, that's fine. I've had a lot of ideas this morning again about Christ, the God man and what he really did on the cross, what it's really all about. And it's led me to the subject which I've talked about before. Maybe I talk about it a little differently now, parenting. And that's what this devotion or rant is all about, parenting, right? And it amazes me to no end because I've seen this that there are really, in general, I think a large amount of kids, of Christian parents, of parents who are in the ministry, parents who are, boy, I mean, missionaries and things like that. And yet their kids at the end of the day, even as adults, have no idea what the gospel is. I mean, that it blows my mind. And I think, at least to me, if there's any indication of a good parent as opposed to a bad parent, because, again, Christ is the only thing you take with you, right? When you pass out of this world, the reality of the cross and all of that, that's the only thing you take with you. You don't take anything else whatsoever. That the definition of a good parent, and I challenge you two ladies in this, with your kids, Katie, and then Audrey, when it comes time for you, but that your kids would know the gospel. You know, Parents are not perfect. I understand that, right? We all kind of suck. We do. We're all responsible to a certain degree for giving our kids a certain amount of, well, how do I say this? Setting themselves up due to our dysfunction for a certain amount of psychotherapy when they're older. But through it all, through all the hangups that parents may have, through the selfishness that they may have, through their emotional disabilities, which kind of rub off on their kids, the sign of a good parent isn't so much that they spend time with their kids. I mean this, and spend a lot of money on their kids. It's that at the end of the day, through all of that scrum, that they know the gospel, not this workerized, Judaized gospel, but the gospel, which is simply justification by faith, or as the theologians may say it, because I'm trying to streamline it, it's justification by grace through faith. But that they know what Christ really did on the cross. Not this Judaized, workerized nonsense that most of us know, but that they know the gospel. Hello? That they know the difference between Christianity and all the other so-called belief systems. And I'm amazed that many of them really don't. They have ministerial parents, mother and father, in missions, and yet so much of the time their kids, they don't know the gospel. They know the workerized, Judaized version of it, which is not the gospel. I mean, that's really the sign of a good parent, because that's the only thing the child will take with him or her. The only thing we as adults, in all our stupidity, will take with us. It's the cross, which sidelines and makes everything else that we are irrelevant. It's the totality of Christ and what he really came to do, not, love, joy, peace, forgiveness. That's not the gospel. Brotherhood of man. That's not the gospel. It's justification by faith. So do your kids know that? Will they know that? Or do they just know the Judaized nonsense, which is really the great cover-up of what Christ did? You have a foundation if you know justification by faith. And that's what parents have to communicate to their kids. At the end of the day, again, and I use this word, but it's a good word. It's a $50 word, all right, as opposed to a $10 word. But once we get through the cacophony and the scrum of pastors, elders, deacons, and just all this hierarchical, superstructured nonsense that we build around Christ and his gospel, oy vey, it's vomitous. Once we get through all that, it's justification by faith. Once we get through all the classes and workshops and all the missionary organizations, it's justification by faith. Do you know that? Do your kids know that? Do they know the good news? Do they know the gospel? Do they know Christ? And at the end of the day, all it is, is justification by faith. You're a good parent if your kids know that. Then you've accomplished your task of being a mother or a father, in spite of all of your dysfunction, in spite of all of your weaknesses that your kids are sure to see, in spite of all the confidence destroying selfishness that your kids may see in you. It's like, okay, dad's just a man, mom's just a woman. These are just people. But do they know the gospel? Do your kids know the gospel? Or do they know the gospel? This workerized, Judaized, re-regulated, re-hierarchized nonsense. Are you a good parent? Do your kids know justification by faith? That's the bottom line. And ladies, that's what I have for you today with your kids, Katie and Audrey, with the kids that you are sure to have as you get older. God bless you both.